the illusion of order. The fragile comfort of human logic shattered in a single fleeting heartbeat. The ancient frozen forest of the Pacific Northwest did not just welcome the darkness, it weaponized it. It instantly erupted, dissolving into a chaotic, deafening cacophony of otherworldly shrieks that seemed to tear through the very fabric of the night. The silent brethren, those towering, impossible monoliths of tattered black wool and rotting Spanish moss, moved with a terrifying, unnatural, and fluid speed. Their elongated, skeletal limbs tore through the frozen underbrush, defying gravity, gliding over the dead soil like shadows cast by a dying fire.
Run! Maya, for the love of God, don't look back. Don't look at them. Just keep your eyes on the ground and run.
It was a masterclass in absolute, unadulterated terror. The women sprinted blindly through the freezing mud, their lungs burning with the icy air, while the heavy, rhythmic footfalls of the giants echoed like thunderclaps right behind their backs. Every shadow in the timber seemed to stretch, twisting into pale, reaching fingers, desperate to claim their flesh. Driven by the primal necessity of sheer survival, Eleanor's scientific mind fractured into raw instinct. She yanked a high-lumen tactical strobe flashlight from her pack, activated its violent, blindic mechanism, and tossed it into the devouring gloom behind them. The intense, artificial light fractured the ancient darkness, disorienting the entities, buying the women a few precious, fleeting seconds of life.
Get in. Get in the truck if you want to see the dawn. Move your legs, you fools, before the woods swallow you whole.
Silas did not drive them back to the relative, fragile safety of the boarded-up inn. Instead, the heavy truck plunged into the deeper shadows of the mountain, arriving at an abandoned subterranean mining depot hidden beneath the rotting roots of the town. Here, under the flickering, humming glare of cold, fluorescent bulbs, surrounded by damp stone and rusted iron, he prepared to unroll the blood-soaked history of Gaelen's Ridge.
In the late 1800s, this godforsaken settlement was slowly, agonizingly dying of tuberculosis. Every family was digging graves in the frozen mud. But then, a strange, ethereal woman named Ilara, a mystic, or perhaps a creature much worse, ventured deep into the ridge and discovered the mother oak. She found that its thick crimson sap, the sanguine resin, possessed a horrific, miraculous power. It cured any terminal ailment, and it stopped the aging process entirely. But the blind, desperate townspeople did not realize that it was never a cure. It was a parasitic, highly intelligent, symbiotic fungus. The entire town consumed it. And in return, the fungus consumed their very humanity, binding their minds into a single, sleepless, cold collective. They belong to a hive mind now.
And what about the giants in the timber, Silas? The entities that pursued us, those silent brethren? Science doesn't allow for such mutations. What are they?
They were the original town elders, Eleanor. The oldest of the damned. A century of consuming the pure, unrefined resin mutated their flesh, stretching their bones, turning them into those guardians. They protect the mother oak. But you must listen to me closely. The tree is starving. Every century it requires a perfect genetic match to Ilara to consume, to drag into its core to keep the resin flowing. Maya, look at me. You're not a stranger here. You are Ilara's direct descendant.
While a primal terror paralyzed the damp air of the room, the cold, clinical mind of a scientist took over. Eleanor set up a makeshift laboratory on a rusted workbench. Under the lens of her portable microscope, the stolen sample of the tree's bark revealed its true, volatile, alkaloid-based nature.
If it's biological, if it's truly a fungal network, then it must obey the laws of biology. And if it's fungal, it can be poisoned, it can be destroyed. I can mix ammonia, bleach, and pure ethanol from these old mining supplies. I will synthesize a localized, highly volatile defoliant, a fungicide so toxic it will burn the mother oak's root system from the inside out.
But the hive mind had already sensed the intrusion. The warning did not come with dramatic shouts, but as a low, horrifying, unified humming resonating from the pitch-black tunnels above. The townspeople of Gaelen's Ridge, men, women, and even young children with completely blank, dead, jaundiced eyes began to breach the outer perimeters. They carried no weapons. They moved in terrifying, absolute silence, like a massive, unstoppable swarm of insects, completely indifferent to pain or self-preservation. A brutal, suffocating, and deeply claustrophobic siege began in the deep veins of the earth. Silas desperately used old mining explosives to collapse the primary corridors, while Eleanor threw makeshift chemical firebombs to hold back the endless tide. But their efforts were futile. There were simply too many of them. The mountain belonged to the tree. In the absolute screaming chaos, the reinforced blast doors were effortlessly pried open by the unnatural strength of the silent brethren. One of the towering figures lunged, grabbing Silas, snapping his life away in a single, horrifying, effortless instant. Another monster loomed directly over the trembling Maya. Eleanor desperately lunged to save her companion, but a silent villager struck her from behind, a heavy iron crowbar crashing into the back of her skull, fracturing her consciousness into pieces.
Do not fight, Eleanor. It is beautiful. It is useless. Take me to the mother. We are finally ready to be whole.
As Eleanor's vision faded into a cold, permanent black abyss, her final sight was an absolute, unholy nightmare. The brethren dragged the descendant away into the deep dark, while the dead-eyed villagers grabbed Eleanor by her ankles, dragging her toward the back of the mine, toward the bottomless, silent feeding pit